Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the self-knowledge lectures. Today we have our lecture number 37, and in this one we are going to check a very interesting technique for us to easily achieve the conscious astral projection and for us to continuously achieve conscious astral projection, because by working with this with what is the law of correspondence and this technique that I'm going to give you today, you are going to develop the you're going to develop that capacity of going out to the astral plane with more easily and more frequently. So let's start immediately with today's lecture. I'm checking that everything's okay here with the broadcast. And well, this actually is a very short lecture because it consists in giving you this tool. And let's immediately start. If you have any question, as always, remember, you can leave your questions down there in the chat or your comments or whatever, and I will be gladly at the end solving any question that you have or sharing your comments. And if you see the video after the live broadcast, you can also leave any concern, any question that you have. And let's see the objectives of this lecture 37. Well, where do you have the slides here? Well, the objective is for us to learn this technique to continuously go into the astral plane in a conscious way. Actually, in the lecture number 3 of this self-knowledge course, we talked a lot about conscious astral projection. We were explaining what is conscious astral projection, several techniques that we can use to go out to the astral plane consciously, techniques that we use when we are going to sleep, and we are, for example, using the technique of the mantras, or using the technique of the concentration, technique of the imagination. There are several techniques that we were explaining in that lecture number 3. In case you didn't see that lecture, is here recorded in this page, so you can look there in the video sections. We have a playlist also here in the video section, so you can easily find the astral projection lecture, which was the 3. And anyways, today we are going to talk just a little about what astral projection is. So we enter into context and we go to explain what this technique is about, okay? And what is astral projection? Astral projection is taking out a inner double or soul to have experience in that 5th dimension of nature, which is the astral plane or the emotional plane. We this double that we take out is of a molecular nature, because that 5th dimension is also a molecular world. That means that when we go outside consciously from our body and we move there in the 5th dimension, we, because of this difference, because here we are in this world that is of cells and we have a body made of cells. We are here on the 48 laws. There in the 5th dimension, we are only under 24 laws, half the laws that here, and we can do different things. For example, as this is a molecular body, even though it looks like the physical body, we can, for example, go through walls, we can jump and float, we can, for example, stretch a finger and it is going to stretch like forever, or any part of our body, our hair. We can stretch our hair and it gets long and long and it returns again, or a limb, whatever. Actually, you can stretch yourself. Like if you are of gum, that is that 5th dimension. And it is because you are in this, you have this molecular body. You can, I said, go through walls, so That is something that you can do in the fifth dimension. You can move with the speed of a thought. If you concentrate yourself on a place and you focus yourself there, that you want to go there, you want to be there, you are there. That is the ease of movement there in the fifth dimension. And well, having understanding these differences, you can use them as a boost to improve your capacity to move, or to, let's say, wake up when you are in a conscious astral projection. Why? Because this of astrally unfolding, it is not something unusual. I mean, it is not something like paranormal or something like very weird or that happens just to some people. No, actually, the reality is that we go out to the astral plane every day. I mean, every day. Every time that we go to sleep and we fall asleep, we unfold ourselves to the fifth dimension, to the astral world. The thing is that we do it unconsciously. And we go there to dream. We go there to project our desires, our fears, and to repeat unconsciously the same things that we do during the day. That is why you see that if you are like so asleep during the day, focused on your work, on this thing that you are doing in your work and the things on your work, you go to sleep and you dream being at work, doing the same things that you were doing. Or if you are so focused on studying for a test, sorry, I'm very sorry. You are studying for a test, for example, and you are there just working on your, university stuff or school stuff. You go to sleep and you repeat the same things there. You continue working there, studying there, etc. That is because as our consciousness is so asleep, we go to that fifth dimension to repeat the same actions that we do during the day. And actually, we need to know that, or we need to understand the importance of awakening our consciousness. That is the reason why we are given for free this self-knowledge course that consists of 50 lectures on its phase A and 25 in its phase B, to give you the tools not only to go out to the astral plane consciously, which is very important, but for you to get to know yourself, for you to get to awaken your consciousness, for you to be there working the necessary inner work for not to go all your day dreaming. But stop dreaming, stop having your consciousness asleep, identified with all the situations in your life, and start awakening. Start waking up your consciousness by working on the 3 factors for the consciousness revolution, by working with the psychological death, eliminating all of your psychological defects, which are the ones that make you sleep during the day. That is, if you are during the day practicing the psychological death in self-observation, observing the manifestation of your ego, of each of your psychological defects, and instead of identifying yourself with all the desires of your ego, you observe them, you understand them, and continuously eliminate them, you are going to remain in self-remembering, in that state of self-awareness. And if you are there, your consciousness living, your consciousness expressing itself during the day, the same is going to happen by law of correspondence during the night. You are not going to the astral plane unconscious. You're not going just to sleep and dreaming. No, now you have like that power of being the same, like awake, like being self-aware of where you are, what are you doing, and you are going to have the opportunity of make yourself conscious that you are in a dream. And in that moment, you can like check that you really are in a dream, and I'm going to explain that now. And you can get out of the dream and start moving yourself consciously in the astral plane. That is like the important thing. And as I was saying, in the lecture number 3, we were given many techniques to go out consciously to the astral plane, but those techniques was about or where to apply them when we are about to sleep. When we go to sleep and relax ourselves, relax our mind, our emotion, our body, and we put a technique to stay concentrated until this detachment process goes on and we make ourselves aware that we are already detached. We go out of our bed and we move ourselves in this fifth dimension at will. That is what we were explaining in the lecture number 3. But this practice that we are giving today is for making ourselves aware that we are already in a dream, that we are, in that fifth dimension. And how are we going to do that? By using this technique that I'm about to explain. First, I want to talk to you a little about what we can do with this astral unfolding thing. Why is it important that we go out consciously to the fifth dimension? Well, actually, it's because in that fifth dimension, because we are under lower laws and we are moving in a world that is like closer to reality, let's say like this, we can actually get to connect with our inner being. We can get to corroborate many of the information that we receive in this physical world to check if they are true. For example, you can go and you can check in the astral plane with your inner being this knowledge that you, for example, are receiving here in these lectures. You can, by unfolding yourself to the astral plane, visit many places in this world and even in other planets. You can go to places in this third dimension, but in the astral plane or side of this fifth dimension, in the molecular side. But you can visit places that you cannot find in this third dimension, but that they are in the fifth dimension. Temples of wisdom, for example. Well, very like beautiful places that you can go in the fifth dimension. You can, in the fifth dimension, for example, investigate your past lives. So you can put like as an objective to check if there are really past existences. You can unfold yourself consciously. And once you are there consciously in the fifth dimension, you can talk to your inner being and ask him to show you a past life, to take you to a past life. And you can, if you have the merits of the heart, you can experience that. You can go and you can see, see it like in a scene, and you can see yourself like there, like if you are an actor of a scene and you are seeing it from outside, or you can go as if you are living that, and you can be in a different time with different clothes, and you are there and people are talking to you, etc. And that is your past life, and you can study all of that and remember that when you come back from that experience, and it's very interesting. You can there investigate about your karmas. Remember that in lecture number 13 we are talking about the laws of karma and dharma, and there, well, that is very important that we get to investigate all of the karmas, debts that we have and how to pay them. We can, if we don't have, for example, a partner, to work in the factor of the spiritual birth, which is the practice of the supersexuality, to start creating the existential bodies of the being, which is very important, because as long as we don't create our own solar astral body, we are not going to be able to move up in the solar plane of the astral plane. We have the lunar part and the solar part, and as we don't have, as our astral body is currently lunar because of our degeneration, because of our ego, we can only move in the lunar part of the fifth dimension. If we want to go up, if we want to our consciousness to move at will in the different dimensions of nature and have a conscious presence there, we need to create the bodies. And if we don't have a partner for this, we can go in a conscious astral projection and ask our inner being who is that person that can help us with that it can like make this work of the spiritual birth with us. And well, actually you can receive that information. Let me check something here with the well, okay, let me go on. And well, another thing you can investigate in the astral plane, how is your inner work going? How is the progress in any of the three factors? Because in the astral projection, you can get to see when you ignite the sacred fire of the kundalini, when first the changes of your energy, the purification of your energy, you can see that in the astral plane when you ignite the sacred fire of the kundalini in your spinal column. Where you can see the sword that the initiate receives, how it is growing. You can check the progress in the disintegration of psychological defects, so you can actually see in the astral plane the depth of your the different ways of beings that you are working with the psychological death, and well, so on. You can check your progress there. You can contact masters of the White Lodge, receive a lot of wisdom, a lot of guidance about your inner work, etc., etc., etc. There are many things that you can do in a conscious astral projection in relation to your inner work. That is why we are always like teaching this and giving you more and more tools so you can really get to experience this. Experience yourself to be conscious in the astral plane. And well, as I was saying, for this technique that I'm going to give you today, let me fix this here because it is like not fine. Allow me just a second. I'm experiencing like an issue here. Well, okay, I cannot like fix it right now. But okay. Law of correspondence is there. And well, this technique we are going to see today. Let's see. I'm experiencing like technique issues here. I'm very sorry. Well, this technique that I want to show you today is about this law of correspondence that says that well, it's the one that explains us that what we do during the day, you continue doing during the night. So I was saying, as we are so mechanical right now that we go during the day doing different things, and when we go to sleep, we tend to repeat the things that we just did during the day, but when we are dreaming. And that is something very common. Actually, it is something that happens every day. Some differences, many times we project some new things, but the most common thing is that we go to the astral plane and we actually repeat the same thing. And let me tell you that many times people say that they don't remember their dreams, but it actually is because they don't do anything different. They make a day and they go to sleep and they repeat that day like the same. And when they wake up, they don't remember anything new, because when they like go back to remember what they dreamed, they see themselves, I don't know, taking a bath, going to the work, I don't know, talking to their couple, or watching a series, whatever, and they say, no, yeah, that was what I did yesterday. I didn't dream anything. But actually, yes, the thing is that we are repeating the same things. We are so that mechanical. And well, how are we going to use this law of correspondence in our favor? We are going to remember what I was saying about the differences between this physical plane and the astral plane. The laws, the nature, cellular, molecular, and what? We are going to start checking our reality, where we are right now. And how are we going to do so? We are going to, for example, take a jump. with the intention to float during the day as many times as possible. You're going to ask yourself, like wanting to really know, where am I? I mean, you are most of the time totally sure that you are in the third dimension, that you are awake, right? But what happens that the same you are during your dreams. When you are dreaming, you are totally sure that you are awake and that you are in the third dimension. Things like impossible things can be happening in your dream. I mean, you can be there with dinosaurs, or elephants can go by, flying, and you are totally sure that you are in the third dimension. So for that reason, trust me, this is not something like weird. It's a reality. So what are you gonna do? During the day, you're going to ask you this question, but really wanting to know, and you're going to check. And how are you going to check? For example, you're going to take a jump, a little jump, with the intention of remain floating. And what happens that if you are in the third dimension, you are going to go down again to the floor, because of the law of gravity that is here in this third dimension, that we don't have that law in the fifth dimension. So when you, because of law of correspondence, repeat that action in a dream, when you make this jump, when you take this jump and you check, you're going to see that you remain floating. And well, the thing is that you repeat this every time that you change an activity. For example, you wake up, and there is important that you ask yourself that, where am I, in the third or the fifth dimension? Let me check. And you take a jump with the intention of floating. If you go down, okay, you know that you are in the third dimension. It is very important to do this when we wake up. Why? Because many times we are in a dream, and for example, we are in the astral plane, in the mental plane, sorry, and we are dreaming there in the upper fifth dimension, in the mental world, and we are there, and we wake up. But we don't wake up in the third dimension. We wake up in another dream, because we go down to the astral plane. And what happens that when you wake up, you go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you prepare yourself to go to work. And when you go to work, when you are in your way, you wake up again. And you are now in the third dimension, and you are like, what? I was dreaming, okay? I thought that maybe that happened to you. It happened to me a lot. And well, what happens that if we make this something that we do every day, this checking thing, when that happens to us in a dream, that we wake up and we take the jump there, and we remain floating, and there we are gonna know that we are in the fifth dimension. Immediately you know that you are in the fifth dimension, you can move at will. You can go out of that dream. You can ask your inner being to take you to some place, to meet some master, to give you such an information, to show you this, to show you that, etc. So every time that you change activity, it is important that you make this reality check. Okay, you take a bath, you go out from there, you remember yourself, and you take this jump. Take a break in the work, there in the bathroom, for example, you take your jump. You went home, and as many times as possible. The more times that you do this, the I don't have the word. The most times that you understand, the more times that you do this is better. Sorry for my English. Sometimes I don't know how to explain the things properly. And well, the thing is that by law of correspondence, in the night, you're going to find yourself repeating this. So this is like the technique, asking yourself, am I in the astral plane or am I in the physical plane? And taking a jump with the intention of remain floating to check, okay? And sometimes you can jump and touch, the roof, yeah? Sometimes you're going to jump and you're just going to float like a little like this from the floor, but anyway you check and you find yourself floating. Another thing that you can do, instead of jumping, for example, you can stretch your finger. You can ask yourself, am I in the astral plane or in the physical plane? Like this guy, let me check. And you stretch your finger. If the finger stretches, you're going to stretch it imagining that it stretches. Because if you are in the physical plane and you imagine that it stretches, it's not going to stretch. But if you are in a dream and you do this, imagining that it's stretched, it is going to stretch like a gum for real. And when you take it, it's going to return there. So that is another way that you can check, and you can do this as many times as you want during the day to check if you are in the physical plane or in the astral plane. There, by this law of correspondence, because we are so mechanical, during the dream, we are going to start repeating this. We are going to be there because we make out of this is something mechanical again, and we are going to be there. Okay, am I in the astral plane or am I in a dream? And let me check. And there we check and we find out that we are in a dream. So that is another thing. You can take a jump or you can stretch your finger or any part of your body. For example, I used to stretch my hair. My hair takes like this, but when I do this in the astral plane, it goes like long. There I know that I'm in the fifth dimension. There I can move at will. Another recommendations, let me see, that we can use to improve this is, first, as I was saying, do this always yes when we get out of bed. Maybe taking a jump or stretching the finger, whatever. Or trying to pass a wall, for example. That is another thing that you can do. Or when changing activities, as I was saying, very important because it is good to do it as many times as possible. When returning to self-remembering, because remember that we must pass like the whole day there in self-observation, eliminating our psychological defects. And many times we go to sleep. We lose ourselves in our thoughts, in our emotions. And when we remember, okay, I need to go back to self-awareness. I need to be living the here and now. There that you are self-remembering, practice and remember. Okay, let me check. Am I in the astral plane or in the physical plane? Let me check. Stretch your finger, take a jump, example, or whatever. And when seeing things out of the ordinary, that is something very important, because here in the physical world, many times we see things that are not like common, And when you get used to check your reality, the reality in which you are in, when you see something out of common, out of ordinary, then as in your dreams, it is so common that you see things really out of the ordinary. In the dream, in your dream, it's common that you can see, for example, a dog with 2 heads or 3 heads. As I was saying, you can see elephant flying, so you can see dinosaurs. You can see, for example, in your house, something, let's say, in your living room, the TV is in this side. In a dream, that TV can be in another side, or your furniture can be a total different color, for example. And the thing is that when in the physical world, anytime that you see something that is like out of ordinary, something that is like not common, you like check, you receive like the shock. Am I in a dream or am I in the astral plane? And there you check. What is going to happen that when you are in a dream and you see something out of the ordinary, as you are so used to using this like a shock, you're going to repeat this. That is going to give you like a shock, and there you're going to check, and you are going, if you stretch your finger, it's going to stretch. If you float, if you take the jump, you're going to float, etc. And that is like, there you're going to find yourself conscious in the astral plane. That is the result of the practice. Actually, it's a practice that is very useful. Please try this technique, and later you tell me how it worked for you, because this is a result of the practice. If you use yourself to make these reality checks, you are going to soon, very soon, find yourself conscious in the astral plane, moving at will in this fifth dimension. If you take a jump and you float, you can go flying. You can go out flying from there, because you can do that in the fifth dimension. And that experience of being flying is something like amazing, something that is really something new for us, and it's something like it's an experience very extraordinary. So I hope that you have a lot of results with this technique that I'm giving you today. And well, this has been today's lecture, because it's only giving you this tip, this tool. And remember that the only requirement here is to start practicing with discipline and patience until you achieve it. That is the key. And well, I just want to invite you now to our next lecture that we are going to be studying next week on Wednesday. We are going to be talking about the heart path and the Christic work. So here we are going to be like explaining several obstacles that we are going to find in our way to the awakening of consciousness. And we are going to be explaining how to overcome all of those obstacles. So don't miss that very interesting lecture. And well, I want to say hi to Philip Mark, that was here with us today, sorry. And well, hi Philip. And well, remember that if you have any question, I am here available for you. So thank you very much to all of you, and see you the next time. Ciao, ciao.